Yeah, let's just go through what just transpired. There've been a trade of wide receivers all over the place. DeAndre Hopkins, who's had a good career, but kind of a tainted career, he gets traded. Hopkins goes from the Tennessee Titans to the Kansas City Chiefs. And a couple of weeks ago, you made an astute comment. You asked me about the leadership of Kansas City because the Chiefs have just been ravaged by injuries too. And I told you, just keep an eye on Brett Veach. He will find a veteran guy to come in to fill the hole. He got Kareem Hunt, the journeyman running back who's had nothing but success since he went back to Kansas City. They just got DeAndre Hopkins. And this guy runs routes. This guy catches balls, got 943 receptions, 79 touchdowns. He is what they don't have right now when they break the huddle, go to line of scrimmage. Veteran receiver you can trust to run the route right, to catch the play, and get yards after catch. So DeAndre Hopkins is going to play this week for Kansas City. Back at the end of preseason, to me, it was really surprising the Rams traded their leading tackler, their inside linebacker, Ernst Jones. He wound up getting traded to Tennessee. It was a contract issue. He's now back in the NFC West. He was traded from Tennessee to Seattle. So, now the Rams are going to see their former leading tackler playing inside linebacker in Seattle. That's a good acquisition for the Seahawks. He's a real thumper. Cooper Kupp, he's been beset by injuries. His name is out there on the trade market, which shocks me that the Rams would be shopping him. But the Rams do have salary cap issues looking down road. Cooper Kupp's got $51 million owed on his contract. But he's back, and he's going to play tonight. Kupp, he's got 585 receptions. He's got 52 touchdowns. They owe him $55 million left on the contract the rest of this season and 2 following seasons. We'll see if the Rams trade him. I think it'd be a terrible disservice to their fans if they let him go because he's such a productive guy, but he's had injuries now 3 years in a row. Raiders have a new quarterback, Desmond Ridder, former Atlanta Falcon.
Yeah.
He was a starter for a year and a half, serviceable. I guess the best thing I can say about him is he manages games and doesn't make a hell of a lot of mistakes. His record is 8-9 as a starter in Atlanta, but he's completed 64% of his passes, 14 touchdowns. He just manages games. And the numbers on Gardner Minshew, who's going to start this weekend because Ritter's not up to speed on the playbook yet. Just think about this. The gunslinger, quarterback rating 74. He's the 31st ranked quarterback in the NFL this season, Minshew. He's got 4 touchdowns. He's now got 10 turnovers. He's taken 17 sacks. That's not the answer for the Raiders.
No, not at all.
So I would assume Desmond Ridder might be the starting quarterback maybe by next week. And the other quarterback that just surfaced, and in Cleveland, they're looking for another quarterback, Bailey Zappi. He's a kid that came out of Western Kentucky, spent a couple of years in New England as a backup, and when he had to play was productive anyhow. He got caught up with the coaching change, and they cut him loose. Bailey Zappi had been in Kansas City as an insurance policy quarterback on the developmental squad. But the NFL rule is you can sign a guy off somebody else's developmental squad and you can play him. He has to go to the active roster. You can't sign Bailey Zappi and put him on your squad. He's got to go to the active roster. Bailey Zappi's on the active roster. Cleveland has just signed him there. So those are names out there in my NFL notebook.
So let's go to Desmond Ridder because I'm curious about the Raiders. Do you think this is more like an addition by subtraction? Just by getting a neutral quarterback in there, maybe the Raiders can win?
They still don't have a running game. They've got a hole at wide receiver because Devontae Adams is now gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that they got enough weapons. That rookie tight end out of Georgia, Bowers, is catching everything. That's rookie of the year candidate right there. But I don't think you can live with just your tight end being the only productive guy, and they got injuries at wide receiver. So, but you get Desmond Ridder, you probably won't have the turnovers.
Right.
Because Minshew's turnover ratio is just through the roof. You can't live with that. So I would assume Ridder, if he gets the chance to play either maybe this weekend or maybe next week, at least it'll be a different thing. But they don't have any weapons. I mean, Zamir White, who was supposed to be the back, has been dinged up. He's finally back, but he's not had a good game yet. And now you don't have Devontae. The other tight end, Mike Mayers, is gone with personal problems. Everything's kind of fallen apart. And there was so much excitement and optimism from the Raider fans to start the season. So I think Ritter plays sooner than later.
Interesting. I'm curious to see how this all shakes out, because Raider fan thought they had a decent team this year, assuming they got average play from the quarterback.
But they lost the defensive tackle, Gerald Wilkins, who came from Miami, and that's a hell of a player. And he's had knee scope. They lost both the defensive ends on the other side of Max Crosby with season-ending knee surgeries. That's been a big thing. And then Max Crosby got hurt, and he's been playing through a bruised knee. He is finally back, but they're missing so many chunks, from Wilkins to the two other defensive ends to one of their linebackers has been hurt. So everything that's gone wrong, that could have gone wrong, has gone wrong the first 7 weeks of the season.
Well, that's typical for the Raiders these days. Last question, DeAndre Hopkins, he was with Deshaun Watson in Houston, wasn't he?
He's been all over the place. He's been with a lot of different clubs.
How old is he?
Yeah, 32, and he's a walk-free agent at the end of the season, but Kansas City doesn't care. The guy's productive, and, you play on an offense with Mahomes makes you even more dangerous.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I think it's typical Brett Veach. Plug in a guy, and these guys turn out to be very productive, and Hopkins is going to get a lot of snaps. And I'm sure he's glad to be out of Nashville, because that situation's terrible. I mean, Will Levis, the young quarterback of the Titans, has been hurt, and his play has degraded terribly. I mean, he was a hot rookie last season, but not right now. So Hopkins goes from last place Tennessee to first place Kansas City, and he's thankful. Now he's got a chance to show himself with a good quarterback.
And maybe a Chiefs three-peat.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's the rationale for doing this. They needed help, and they got a guy who can play. Okay, you're an NFL fan? Jump into the fans forum chat box. John will make sure that if it's a good take, it doesn't suck. You'll get a chance to be on
Hey, I've heard
fans
that line
forum
before.
Yeah. We go